Hi, everybody. Welcome to Professor Messer's 220-1001 Core 1 A+ Pop Quiz number 1. This is going to follow the pop quizzes that are available on my website, and you can take those pop quizzes now and follow along with us afterwards, or you can take it as we're going here live in the video. These are 10-question practice exams that I've archived from my monthly study group sessions. The questions that I present here will be in exactly the same order as you'll find them on my website, but you'll notice that the answers are randomized, so it will be a little bit different every time you take the exam. You'll also notice that I'll give you a 7-second countdown every time we ask a question. That way, if you have not taken this test before, you can pause the video, think about your answer, and then continue with the rest of the video. There are also timestamps available in the YouTube video description. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can click the YouTube icon, look at the video description, and jump directly to the question you're interested in. If you'd like to take this pop quiz before watching this video, you can go to professormesser.com/popquiz. That will present you with this pop quiz online view, and you can see I have Core 1, Core 2, Network Plus, and Security Plus pop quizzes here. If you choose the Core 1 A+ pop quiz, you'll have a list of different pop quizzes to choose from, and the pop quiz we'll do today in this video is pop quiz number 1. Question 1.1 asks, a user is complaining about a burning smell coming from their computer case. Which of the following should be the first troubleshooting step for this issue? Would it be to check the logs for any significant events? Would it be to remove the cover and visually inspect the system? Would it be to disconnect the power source? Would it be to reboot the system into safe mode? Or would it be to perform a hardware diagnostic? Let's look at the answer in 7 seconds. And the answer is to disconnect the power source. Anytime there's some type of electrical problem, it's possible to see smoke or even flames inside of your computer, so you want to be very careful when a situation like this is occurring. If you're smelling smoke or an odd odor, that is not a normal situation. It's very commonly associated with an electrical problem, and you need to unplug your computer right away. Once your computer is powered off, you can then look inside the system and see if you can locate exactly where the problem might be. It may be a component that you can easily swap and get your system running again. Because this problem is associated with an electrical issue, you want to unplug before you do anything else. So checking the logs for significant events or even removing the cover to see what's going on should always be a second step after you've removed the power source from the computer. There's no reason to reboot the system into safe mode or to perform a hardware diagnostic because we already know there's a problem. The key here is to remove any problems that could occur by removing the power from your system. And our second question in Quiz 1 asks, a network administrator is installing a POTS modem for a console at a remote site. What type of cable interface would this modem require for connectivity to the POTS line? Would it be RJ11, RJ45, USB, BNC, or TRS? Let's think about it over 7 seconds. And the answer is RJ11. RJ11 connections are commonly used for plain old telephone service or POTS connections. The RJ11 is what we'd often refer to as a phone cord because it's associated with that old style analog telephone, or these days even DSL lines, since those are also using your analog telephone lines. The RJ in RJ11 stands for registered jack. And if you see RJ11, it's almost always associated with a telephone connection. These RJ11 connections are sometimes referred to as 6P 2C connections. That stands for 6 position to conductor. If we look closely at the end of one of these RJ11 connections, you can see there are 6 different connections, and in this particular case, there are 4 conductors inside of this cable, but only the middle 2 conductors are the ones that are used on an RJ11 telephone connection. RJ45 connections are a little larger than the RJ11, and they're commonly associated with Ethernet connections. USB, or Universal Serial Bus, is used by peripherals that are connected to our computer, like our mouse and our keyboard. BNC connections are the bayonet connections that you'd commonly see associated with some wide area network or some video type connections. And TRS stands for tip, ring, sleeve. Those are the audio connections you'd commonly see associated with headphones. Question number 3 from Pop Quiz 1 asks, which of the following would be the best way to connect a mobile phone wirelessly to external speakers? Would it be Bluetooth, IR, TRS, NFC, or USB-C? 7 seconds. And the answer is Bluetooth. Bluetooth connectivity is a very common way to wirelessly connect to many different peripherals from your mobile device. We refer to this as a personal area network because it's a network that wirelessly is only going to be able to connect to devices that are in a personal area around you. So if you are tethering a smartphone, you're connecting to an earpiece, or you're connecting to wireless speakers through your mobile device, you're probably using Bluetooth. IR would be an infrared connection, which is commonly used with remote controls to control televisions or media centers. TRS is tip ring sleeve, and you'd commonly use that to have a wired connection to speakers, but not a wireless connection. NFC stands for near field communication, and it's a very short range network that's commonly used to pay for things at a point of sale system. And USB-C is a USB universal serial bus type connector that would be a wired connection to a peripheral. The fourth question in the pop quiz asks, an organization is building a custom inventory management system but would like to use pre-built modules as the foundation of the application. Which of these cloud technologies would be the best fit? Would it be PaaS? Would it be rapid elasticity? Would it be IaaS? Would it be hybrid? Or would it be SaaS? Let's find the answer in 7 seconds. And the answer is PaaS, or Platform as a Service. Platform as a Service means that we're going to use a cloud-based system, so we're not going to have any local servers or any local software that we have to work through, but it's one where we would commonly provide the programming of that application. Fortunately, with most Platform as a Service implementations, you don't have to start from scratch if you're a programmer. Very commonly, they'll give you modules that you can lock together, just like Legos might be, and you can build your application using the modules available on someone else's cloud platform. Once those building blocks are put together, you'll have an application created ideally in a much shorter period of time than if you were to write it from scratch from the very beginning. One common offering that allows you to put together these modules into your own platform as a service can be found on Salesforce.com. Rapid elasticity is a characteristic of cloud-based systems that allow you to scale up when the systems become very busy and then scale back down again when things slow down. IaaS refers to infrastructure as a service. You'll sometimes see this referred to as hardware as a service, where the cloud provider is simply giving you hard drive space, a CPU, a network connection, and memory, and then you have to put everything else onto that system. A hybrid cloud implementation would be one where part of the cloud-based services were on a public cloud and the other part of the cloud-based services were on a private cloud. And finally, SaaS or SaaS is software as a service. With software as a service, you're not doing any programming. You're simply using a service that has already been programmed for you. You would log into the service and use it, and there would be no need to put together modules, build out any software, or support any software from your side. You're simply using the software that's already available as a service. On to question 5. When a SIM is moved from one mobile device to another, all incoming calls will follow the SIM. Which of the following allows this capability? Is it PRL, IMEI, PRI, VPN, or IMSI? We'll find out in 7 seconds. And the answer is IMSI. IMSI stands for International Mobile Subscriber Identity. So this is the person who is using that particular mobile service. And that IMSI is often provisioned on the SIM card. So if you move the SIM card from one phone to the other, it's going to have the same user's identity moved between those phones as you're moving the SIM. The IMEI is an International Mobile Station Equipment Identity, and it's a unique value that's associated with the mobile device itself. Moving a SIM between devices might be able to move the mobile subscriber, but you're not going to be able to change an IMEI because that is associated with the physical device itself. Other answers to this question included the PRL, and a PRL is a preferred roaming list. This is provided by a carrier so that your phone knows exactly what towers it can connect to. We also have PRI, which was listed as a possible answer. PRI in this context refers to product release instructions. So this refers to any of the radio settings inside of your mobile device, things like network codes and country codes. And both the PRL and the PRI can be updated over the air or OTA. And the last possible answer was VPN. That stands for Virtual Private Network. This is a way of setting up an encrypted communication between your mobile device and another endpoint. It's very common to see this integrated into the phone software itself, so you don't need to load any additional software. You would only need to make configuration changes inside of your existing phone software to be able to enable the VPN functionality. And the answer again, if you're moving that SIM and the phone calls are following that SIM from one phone to the other, that is referring to the IMSI, or the International Mobile Subscriber Identity. If you like these questions, then you're also going to like my practice exam book, where I've written 3 separate 90-question practice exams that include both multiple choice questions and performance-based questions that will simulate the same style of questions that you'd receive on your 220-1001 Core 1 A+ exam. If you'd like to get more information about my practice exams, you can visit my website at professormesser.com/core1pe. That's CORE1PE for practice exams. Question number 6. Which of these would be the best way to check the continuity of wires inside of an Ethernet patch cable? Would that be a punch-down tool, a toner probe, ping, a cable tester, or a loopback plug? 7 seconds. And the answer here is a cable tester. Given all of the other options available in the answers, this really was the best option available because this provides you with a way to do a continuity test, usually because you can separate the cable tester into 2 pieces and be able to run that test even though the ends of the cable may be very far from each other. The cable tester performs some relatively simple tests, but it can tell you if you may have not connected some of the wires inside of that connector, or if you may have crossed them over during the connection process. If you need more advanced testing, like being able to determine how much crosstalk or how much signal loss may be occurring across that wire, then you'll want to use more advanced functions that you might find in a TDR, or time domain reflectometer. Here you can see how simple the cable tester is to use. You simply turn it on, and if you have continuity between pins 1 and pin 8, you'll see the lights turn on both sides of the cable tester. A punch-down tool would be used if you wanted to connect individual wires into a 66 block or a 110 block. A toner probe is a great way to find the ends of 2 cables, especially if those cables are far apart from each other, but it won't help you understand if the wires inside of the cable are connected on both ends. The ping command is useful if you need to determine if a system is on the network and responding to network requests, but it also will not be able to provide you with any continuity information of the wires themselves. And lastly, a loopback plug may be useful for understanding if an interface on a device is working properly, but loopback plugs commonly are not used for testing continuity of wires. The best option for this particular answer is to use the cable tester. Pop Quiz 1, question 7 asks, a system administrator needs to check the power that a desktop power supply provides to the PCI Express slots. Which of these voltages would be the most important to check? Would it be 120 volts, 12 volts, 5 volts, 240 volts, or 3.3 volts? We'll find out in 7 seconds. And the answer is 12 volts. The power supplies that we have inside of our computers are able to input a certain voltage and then output multiple voltages that are used by different components inside of our computers. For example, 12 volts are commonly used by PCI Express adapters, hard drive motors, and other components. Our power supplies can also output 5 volts of DC power, which are used on some motherboard components, although many motherboards these days are using the lower powered 3.3 volts. And you'll find that M.2 slots, RAM slots, and other components on the motherboard will use this 3.3 volt power. Now we know why 12 volts was the right power option to be able to power PCI Express slots, and we know why 5 volts and 3.3 volts were not the right option. Whenever you see 120 or 240 volts, then we're probably referring to the input voltage that is coming from the wall outlet into the power supply. Pop Quiz 1, question 8 asks, a system administrator would like to move all desktop computers to a centralized cloud-managed solution. Which of the following would be the best choice? Would it be VDI? Would it be SaaS? Would it be IaaS? Would it be VPN? Or would it be PaaS? 7 seconds. VDI was the right answer. VDI stands for Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, and you're able to put what was normally on a desktop computer into the cloud, into a virtual desktop environment. This means that you could have your Windows desktop in the cloud, but access that Windows desktop from almost any operating system that you might be running. You could be running on a tablet or a Linux computer and still be connecting to your Windows operating system in the cloud. In this example, I'm running Mac OS on my desktop, but I'm connecting to a Windows desktop over Amazon Workspaces and running Windows applications in the cloud. The answers for software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service describe different cloud-based models. In our question, we were asking specifically about desktop computers being centralized in a cloud-managed solution, and in that case, VDI would be the best choice given all of the other options available. The other option for VPN is referring to the virtual private network, or a way to encrypt and protect data as it's being transported through the network. Quiz 1, question 9 asks, a Mac OS user in shipping and receiving is randomly seeing the spinning wait cursor during the workday. The cursor spins for 30 seconds before returning control to the user. Which of these would be the most likely cause of this issue? Would it be an application bug, a bad display, a congested network, a bad capacitor, or a post error? We'll find out in 7 seconds. And the answer is application bug. The real key to this question is understanding what a spinning wait cursor might be in Mac OS. In Mac OS, if your cursor turns from an arrow into a spinning pinwheel of color, this is the spinning wait cursor, and it's the operating system giving you feedback that something is happening and it's not able to do anything else at this time. If you're familiar with Microsoft Windows, this is similar to the hourglass function that might occur on the Windows desktop. In many cases, the ball might spin for a little bit and then you would have control of your system again. And in very bad situations, the spinning wait cursor will spin and never stop. This usually indicates there's some type of other issue holding up your system from running. Something like an application bug or even bad hardware might cause this cursor to begin spinning and not provide you with any control of the system during that time. A bad display might change the way that the display looks to us, but it's not going to cause the spinning wait cursor to be displayed. A congested network might slow things down for the application we're using, but it's not causing your entire desktop to freeze up. A bad capacitor might cause your system to shut down completely, but it's not going to cause a spinning wait cursor to appear. And lastly, a power on self-test error or a post error is an error that occurs when you're starting up your computer, but a spinning wait cursor is an error or a problem that occurs once your desktop is already loaded. And question 10 of Pop Quiz 1 asks, a laptop display is showing a black screen and nothing is shown on the screen during the startup process or when Windows is loaded. Which of these would be the best way to determine if the backlight is the issue? Would we point a flashlight at the screen? Would we disable video hardware acceleration? Would we install updated video drivers? Would we boot from the Windows installation media, or would we change the video output selection in the BIOS? We'll get the answer in 7 seconds. And the best way to determine if the backlight is the issue is to point a flashlight at the screen. If you're looking at an LCD display right now, then there's a backlight behind the screen that is shining a light so that you're able to see the information that's displayed on that LCD monitor. On older LCD displays, the light that's behind the screen is a fluorescent type of light that requires AC power. But on most computers inside, there's DC power. So there has to be an inverter that will convert some of that DC power into AC power that is then used by those fluorescent lights. If you think the inverter may have failed, then that means that the backlight is not going to be turned on. So you might want to shine a flashlight through from the front and watch the reflected light coming back through the LCD. If you notice that there is writing on the screen and you can slightly make out some of the information that normally would be displayed, then it's most likely that your inverter has failed and the backlight is no longer working. If video hardware acceleration was our problem, then we might have other types of video issues, but we would still be able to see what's happening on the screen. Installing the latest version of video drivers can sometimes fix small bugs with your video subsystem, but you're not going to run into a problem where an older video display driver is going to cause the entire screen to be blank. Booting from the Windows installation media is also not going to cause your screen to suddenly appear again, and changing the video output selection in the BIOS is also not going to give you that option. In fact, if your screen is black because of an inverter problem, you're not going to be able to see any of the information in that BIOS anyway. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 220-1001 Core 1 A+ Pop Quiz number 1. There's many more pop quizzes available on my website. You can find those at professormesser.com/popquiz. Don't forget about our training videos on YouTube. You can find those at professormesser.com/YouTube. Our daily A+ pop quiz questions on Twitter and Instagram can be found at professormesser.com/Twitter and professormesser.com/Instagram. And don't forget about my practice exams book. You can find out more information about that at professormesser.com/Core1PE. Thanks for watching, and best of luck with your studies.